Leo Finch liked the predictable rhythm of the sea breeze almost as much as he liked baking. Every afternoon, the coastal train slid out of Harbourview Station, hugged the ragged Pacific cliffs for 70 miles at a gentle 30 miles an hour, then eased into Cove Junction in time for sunset. The train's trundle, steady, unhurried, gave passengers a chance to stare at turquoise water while sampling Leo's meringue-topped tiramisu, raspberry-curd macarons, and the cupcake he'd made famous, a vanilla sponge piped high with salted caramel buttercream and a candied kelp frond. On the 4th day of May, just after the sea breeze issued its departure whistle, Leo stood in the Cupcake caboose, the last car, refurbished in pastel chrome and glass bakery cases, arranging the first batch of seaside specialties. He hummed over the hiss of the espresso machine, feeling the soft sway beneath his shoes as the locomotive gathered momentum. When the staff intercom crackled with the conductor's voice, Leo only half listened. "Good afternoon, folks. I'm Conductor Mason Pike. We'll be cruising along the coast at a comfortable 30 miles per hour. Should you need anything..." Click. Silence. Routine. Leo glazed the final cupcake and stepped back to admire the row. 24 identical masterpieces. Then he noticed an oddity. A single silver whistle, the conductor's spare, resting on the counter. Pike never let the thing out of his pocket. Leo wiped his hands, intending to return the whistle, but before he left the galley, an urgent pounding rattled the door that connected the Cupcake caboose to the passenger car ahead. He opened it to reveal Claudia C., a stringer for the Harbourview Herald, eyes flashing behind round spectacles. "Chef, have you seen Mason?" she asked, breathless. "He's not answering the intercom." "I was about to look for him," Leo said, lifting the whistle. "He left this behind." Claudia frowned. Strange. She started down the narrow passage, but a waft of coffee and vanilla air pulled her back. "Mind if I grab one of those cupcakes? For investigative fortification." He boxed 2, press pass privilege, then followed her forward. The train clacked through Tunnel Point, sunlight strobing the interior. Passengers read dozed, snapped photographs. No conductor in sight. Halfway up the train, they nearly collided with Gus Rayner, the grease-smudged mechanic, emerging from a maintenance hatch. "Pike go by here?" Gus grunted. "We're looking for him too," Leo said. "Nobody's seen him." Gus scratched his stubble. "Guy's always on time for ticket check. Odd." He lumbered toward the engine. Claudia scribbled notes. 3 minutes, no conductor. Something's off. Together, she and Leo walked the remaining cars, asked every porter, peeked into the baggage compartment. Nothing. When they circled back, the Cupcake caboose door stood ajar, though Leo remembered snapping the latch. He exchanged a glance with Claudia and stepped inside. At first he thought a sack of flour had fallen. White powder dusted the floor in a peculiar mound. Then the lump twitched. Leo lunged, brushed away buttercream-stained parchment, and froze. Conductor Mason Pike lay face down, head buried in one of Leo's oversized mixing bowls, the rim smeared with pink frosting. A piping bag, emptied of cream, was twisted around his neck like a tourniquet. Claudia gasped so sharply she choked on vanilla air. Leo touched Pike's wrist. Cold. The train's wheels clattered on, indifferent. "Stay here," Claudia whispered, already hurrying out. "I'll get the conductor, well, the assistant conductor, and the security guard." Leo swallowed, fought the urge to retch. The small room smelled of sugar, but beneath it lurked something metallic. He bent, careful not to disturb the body. A sticky note clung to Pike's palm, buttercream glue sealing it to the skin. Leo peeled it free. Tell the pastry boy to keep his fingers out of other people's dough. The message prickled the hair on Leo's neck. Pastry boy. Him. Footsteps thundered. Assistant conductor Winona Harp, a tall woman with a brass demeanor, stormed in with the guard, Arnold Bell, and Gus, the mechanic, in tow. Behind them, passengers pressed for a look until Winona barked, "Clear the corridor!" Bell checked Pike, shook his head. Winona's voice wavered but held. "Lock the doors. Nobody leaves this car." Soon, everyone with operational authority on the Seabreeze crammed into the Cupcake galley. Winona, Bell, Gus, Claudia, and Mrs. Daphne Pembroke, elderly chairwoman of the railway's board, who insisted on being present because one dead conductor on my rolling stock is quite enough. 5 sets of eyes shifted to Leo, the only person visibly dusted with flour. Bell folded his arms. "Chef Finch, mind explaining why Pike suffocated in your kitchen?" "Because someone dragged him here," Leo said, shock hardening into anger. "And tried to frame me." He held up the note. "See for yourself." Claudia took it with gloved fingers. "Threatening the pastry boy. That's our first clue." Mrs. Pembroke sniffed a cupcake, unfazed. "We're between tunnels. 30 minutes either way. We can't stop on the bluff, loose shale. Investigation will proceed on board." She pointed her cane at Leo. "You, young man, baked the body. You find the killer." Winona balked. "He's a chef, not a detective." "Chef knows every nook of this sugar den," Mrs. Pembroke countered, "and every staff schedule. Further, we cannot panic the passengers. Let the icing genius quietly uncover our culprit before we hit Cove Junction. That's 70 miles, 30 miles an hour, just over 2 hours remaining. Chop chop." With authority confined to the railcar matriarch and stunned disbelief pooling in the corners, it was settled. Leo Finch, apron askew, became the Seabreeze's emergency sleuth. He stared out the rear window at receding tracks, gathered resolve like stiffening egg whites, and began. 1. The scene of the crime. Leo made everyone wait in the lounge next door while he studied the caboose. Several details popped. The mixing bowl that smothered Pike was one Leo rarely used, stored on a high shelf. Short as Leo was, he needed a stool to reach it. Killer was likely tall. Spatters of frosting formed a dotted path to the door, suggesting Pike had been attacked elsewhere and dragged back. No sign of forced entry. Latch worked fine. Whoever entered either had a skeleton key or Leo had left the door unlatched when chasing Pike. The latter seemed likely. Leo photographed footprints with Claudia's phone. 1 set of thick tread marks in frosting. Work boots, size large. Gus's? He found Pike's ticket puncher on the floor, dented as if dropped in a struggle, and an embroidered handkerchief monogrammed DP, Daphne Pembroke. 2 motives on board. Leo gathered his suspects in the viewing saloon. Afternoon light painted everyone gold and guilty. First up, Gus Rayner leaned against a brass pillar. Big man, boot prints plausible. Leo recalled seeing Gus emerge from that maintenance hatch earlier. "Gus, you argued with Pike last night." Gus shrugged. "We bickered about brake inspections. He wanted an unscheduled stop yesterday. Said he heard scraping under car 4. I checked, found nothing. Told him he was paranoid. That ain't murder motive." Claudia whispered, "Except if a faulty brake got someone fired." Next, assistant conductor Winona. Tall, severe, but eyes reddened in grief. Pike was her subordinate, yet also, rumour had it, competitor for a promotion to route manager. "Winona," Leo said, "any rivalry?" "We trained together," she replied. "Mason was slated for the manager role, yes. Would have meant a desk job, not trainside. I wanted it, but not like this. She clutched her conductor's hat. He called me before departure, said he'd found dirty sugar in the Cupcake car and needed advice. I assumed he meant rodents. Dirty sugar. Contraband? Finally, Mrs. Pembroke. The old dame rested in a plush chair, cane across her lap. Your handkerchief was near the body, Leo said. She did not flinch. I drop things. Awkward fingers. What business had you in my galley? She gestured at the cupcake she'd been sampling earlier. I fetched a midnight snack during yesterday's layover. You'd gone for supplies. Door was open. Perhaps the conductor returned it for me this morning and, tragic coincidence. Leo studied her poker face. Wealth often forged nerves of steel. Claudia raised her hand like a student. May I add myself to the suspect list? I interview Pike twice weekly. Today I wanted a scoop. No pun about pastry. If he'd discovered wrongdoing aboard, I'd want the story. The guard, Bell, cleared his throat. And me? I patrol every car. Opportunities there. Leo nodded. Plenty of suspects. But where was motive solid? He needed facts. 3 clues in car 4. Leo retraced Pike's final movements. If the conductor suspected sabotage, he'd start with the freight section sandwiched between passenger compartments, car 4. Gus said he inspected it, but Leo wanted a baker's peek. Gus unlocked the utility door under supervision. Inside, low crates of flour and sugar rattled lightly with the train. Leo sliced a sack, ordinary grains. Another, same. On a hunch, he opened a crate marked Seabreeze Signature Caramel. Instead of caramel, bricks of dull grey clay nestled under wax paper. Leo poked one, dense, slightly oily, no smell. Gus whistled. Ain't candy, that's modelling clay. Claudia filmed. Why smuggle clay in a caramel crate? Leo weighed a brick. Heavy for its volume, maybe not clay at all. He scraped the surface with a tasting spoon. A silvery glint emerged. Lead sheath, he murmured. Inside could be diamonds, electronics, weapons, contraband disguised as confectionery shipment. Claudia's eyes widened. Dirty sugar. Pike had uncovered a smuggling ring. Someone killed to keep it quiet. But who had access to car 4 and the Cupcake caboose? Gus and Winona possessed keys. Mrs. Pembroke, as owner, could request them. Bell carried the master set. Claudia? None. Leo? Only his own galley. He replaced the crate and resealed the latch, mind whirring like the train's wheels. 4. The frosting factor. Back in the Cupcake car, Leo examined the empty piping bag around Pike's neck. It was commercial-grade silicone, new, except for a faint scent of bergamot and whiskey, Leo's secret flavour in the Earl Grey cupcake, available only in the exclusive midnight marmalade batch he served to first-class passengers last night. That batch never reached the public buffet. Someone was in here after hours, Leo said aloud. Used this very bag, kept it. He remembered returning to the caboose near midnight to chill ganache. The door had been locked, lights off. But a mixing bowl was missing from the shelf then. He noticed and assumed he'd left it unwashed earlier. A tall thief could have plucked the bowl and hidden until Leo left. Tall thief, Gus or Winona. Mrs. Pembroke with her cane, unlikely to climb counters. 5. Interrogating the timeline. Leo convened the suspects, laid out the findings. Contraband bricks, stolen piping bag, frosting path. Gus puffed his chest. You think I'm smuggling? I sleep in the maintenance nook. No room for shiny rocks. Winona shook her head. My job's on the line. Last night I was drafting reports in the staff office. Bell saw me. Bell confirmed. She was there till 0100. And you, Belle? Leo asked. Roaming, Belle said. Routine patrol. Mrs. Pembroke sipped tea. Gentlemen, ladies, let's not tarry. The tide schedule at Cove Junction leaves us slim margin. Leo caught her slip. Tide schedule. Only freight captains tracked tides for loading cargo. Passengers cared about sunset, not sea level. He recalled rumours. Pembroke Rail Holdings was cash-strapped after a failed overseas venture. Smuggling contraband via her own train would be efficient and invisible, unless a meticulous conductor peeked in the wrong crate. But could the frail matriarch subdue a grown man? Not physically. She'd need an accomplice, someone strong, someone loyal, maybe unaware of full motive. Which brought Leo to Belle, the security guard. Belle had the keys, the muscle, and a spotless record owed to Mrs. Pembroke's personal recommendation. Leo returned to the caboose and studied the frosting footprints again. Beside the large boot prints sat a smaller pair with a narrow heel. Not high heels, but polished security-issue Oxfords. Belle's size matched. He had his accomplice. Now to prove it. 6. The sugar swap. The train rattled into Seafog Strait, salt mist wrapping windows. They were an hour from Cove Junction. Leo devised a trap. He approached Mrs. Pembroke in her private compartment, Claudia covertly filming from the corridor. "Ma'am," Leo said, polite as pastry cream, "I need your approval to discard spoiled cargo. Pike suspected contamination." "Which cargo?" she asked. "Crate marked caramel but full of grey clay bricks," he replied, gauging her reaction. One eyebrow twitched. "Throw it overboard, then," she said too quickly. "We mustn't endanger passengers." Confirmation enough. She knew what was inside. Leo thanked her, then hurried to Belle. "Security, I need help lifting a heavy crate. Mrs. Pembroke said dump it at Deadman's Cut, so the tide washes it away." Belle's eyes narrowed. Deadman's Cut was a remote cliff curve with no surveillance. Perfect for evidence disposal. He agreed, suspicious but cornered by the supposed command. Leo fetched Gus and Claudia as backup, citing official documentation. The 5 of them entered Car 4 just as the sea breeze rolled onto the high trestle above Deadman's Cut. Waves thundered below. The crate sat on a trolley. Belle gripped it. "Let's make this quick," Leo nodded. "On 3, 1, 2. Instead of 3, Leo yanked the trolley brake. The sudden jolt sent Belle stumbling. The lid of the crate flew open, spilling silvery-coated bricks at his feet. Claudia's camera flashed. Gus stepped between Belle and the exit. "Care explaining?" Belle's hand went to his belt, but found only a flashlight. Security on tourist trains didn't carry guns. He ran anyway, barreling toward the door, but Winona appeared, summoned earlier by Leo, locking the passage. Belle slumped. "She said no one would get hurt," he muttered. Leo spoke calmly. "You strangled and suffocated Pike because he found the contraband." Belle shook his head. "I just held him while she used the piping bag. I never meant—" Claudia recorded everything. "Who is she? Say it loud for the microphone." Belle glared backward, as though Mrs. Pembroke's eyes bored through steel walls. "Daphne Pembroke. The company's drowning. Smuggling rare earth magnets for illegal tech builders was her lifeline. Pike threatened exposure. She ordered me to silence him." Gus secured Belle's wrists with cable ties. 7. Confronting the Queenpin Winona, Claudia, Gus, and Leo escorted Belle to the viewing car, where Mrs. Pembroke waited, serene as a cat atop a knitting basket. "Arnold," she said, voice light but deadly, "you look ruffled." Belle avoided her stare. Leo handed Winona the confession recording. She played it aloud. Passengers nearby hushed, gossip fluttering like gulls. Mrs. Pembroke listened, eyes narrowing, cane tapping wood floor. When the tape ended, she sighed. Well, that's that. I suppose a lifetime seat on the board doesn't include bail arrangements. You orchestrated murder, Winona said. I orchestrated survival, Mrs. Pembroke replied. Railroads bleed money. Government regulators choke us. I found a buyer for unused cargo space. Victimless until this melodramatic conductor poked his nose. Her gaze flicked to Leo. And until the pastry boy refused to mind his dough. Winona signalled Belle to the corner where the guard remained shackled. Mrs. Pembroke, you're under arrest. Upon arrival at Cove Junction, you will be remanded to coastal authorities. The old woman rose with surprising dignity. Very well. But do remember, I built this line. Without me, the sea breeze will rust. Not if we protect it, Leo said. With honest work. She tilted her head, almost fond. Your cupcakes are too sweet, Mr. Finch. The world is saltier than you think. 8. The last stretch. While Winona placed Mrs. Pembroke under cabin watch, Leo returned to the caboose to breathe. The sunset painted frosting lids ruby and gold. For a moment he hated the smell of sugar. Claudia joined him. From chef to detective in 2 hours. How do you feel? Like a sponge squeezed dry, he said. But relieved. She snapped a photo of him beside the cupcake display. Headline, Pastry Sleuth Foils Caboose Conspiracy. Make it Sea Breeze Keeps Its Sweet Reputation, Leo suggested, and give Pike his due. The train whistle sounded once more, Winona at the helm. It wasn't the chipper blast Mason Pike used, but it carried determination. When Cove Junction's lights flickered on the horizon, the sea breeze rolled steady at 30 miles an hour, hull lighter by one conductor, but heavier with truth. Leo boxed a cupcake, walked to the staff compartment where Winona stood sentinel over Pembroke and Belle. He set the box in Winona's hands. For the officers who'll board us, he said. They'll have paperwork. Sugar helps. Winona smiled, first time all day. Thanks, Leo. And thank you for saving my train. He corrected her gently. Our train. Outside, gulls circled in the peach sky, tracing loops above the rails. The sea breeze exhaled its last whistle of the journey, a note both elegy and promise, while Leo Finch, pastry chef turned accidental sleuth, wiped buttercream from his apron and watched the world slide by, certain that tomorrow, when ovens heated and waves sparkled, his cupcakes would taste a little less sweet, a little more brave, and entirely like justice.